Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode on our speedrun against Kumar Priya, rated 1712. Will he play a Queen's Gambit and allow us to Budapest him? Or will he spend time on move 2? Really, guy? Okay, he cowers with this all-purpose general move, knight out. No Budapest Gambit, so what do we do, folks? I don't know. Let's try d6. Let's try King's Indian. Maybe he'll play it next. d6 is very flexible. You could play for c5, you could play for e5, you could play for g6, c6, a6, right? Because you're not committing, really, which is why it's flexible. When you put your pawn 2, you're already kind of committing to a certain setup. There are even types of ideas where you go d5, you know, as if making it a waiting move. But I don't know why this guy's thinking. How are you 1700, but you think I'll move 2? Okay, he's 1140 in bullet. Wait a second. Who am I playing here? Who am I playing? Weird. Okay, so he does play it. I forgot what I was doing. Oh yeah. Let's go g6 and King's Indian it. We'll play for e5, f5 if he closes down the pawn structure, and we'll try to attack him like the Nimzowitsch. But I mean, this guy is so slow. Like, this isn't how a normal chess player plays chess, obviously. Okay, he brings out his bishop. Let's fianchetto. e3, okay. Let's castle. You can do it. This guy's not real, though. Okay. h3, stopping our bishop from pinning his knight. Okay, so e5, if we take, if he takes and we take, we don't have it supported enough times. So let's play c5, which we can get in, because it's not being controlled as much. And it also harmonizes with our bishop's diagonal, whereas e5 blocks it. So they're different strategies. e5 creates a pawn chain that points towards the king side. c5 creates a pawn chain that points towards the queen side, leading to queen side expansion ideas. So he develops his knight after much deliberation. Maybe he's threatening to push the pawn in the center, but in any case, let's remove his strong central pawn for our flank pawn. That way he doesn't have any push ideas going into some Benoni space gain structure. We avoid those lines. We don't let him gain space ever. That way we should always be at least equal. We can develop our knight freely, our bishop freely, our queen freely, and we have a decent position. Let's see how he takes back. He has 3 options. He takes with the pawn, maintaining a pawn duo, controlling the center. Fine. I still want to continue my development. I kind of like queen a5 first, because it pins this knight, which maybe allows for knight e4 ideas, which open up my bishop, trade one set of pieces, which gives my position a little more space to maneuver. It's not necessary, but it's one way to play. And even if you don't do that, this is a nice developing square for your queen. It's pretty active. So he goes there. So now if I go here, he wants to take my knight, and it defends backwards also. Maybe I don't think he was going to castle long. I think he's just breaking the pin. But that's also fine, right? We just developed our queen. We can keep developing. We don't have to do anything crazy. If we jump our knight here, and you have to assume what if he kicks you. Not that it's automatically good, but you have to ask yourself, what's my move? I mean, you have moves like you can even go back home. It's not a bad idea because you weaken the dark squares. You can reroute it back to those squares. You could also go to b4 and then a6, c5. e5. I would love to get that in now. If he gets a pawn and we get a pawn and he gets a pawn, all we need is one extra support. So rook support or knight support. I'm not sure which square I want the knight on. I mean, I think I want it on c6. But I know I want the rook on e8. Let me be very intentional about, very direct about my intentions. e5 is on the agenda. His king is right there. We got in c5. We can also get an e5. We really will break up his center, right? Because those are... So he defends against the x-ray, but does not defend or try to stop e5. e5, he can't push past because we're hitting his bishop. Takes. So he gets a pawn, I get a pawn. He gets a pawn, I get a piece. He gets a rook, I get a second piece. So rook and pawn for 2 pieces, 2 minors. I'll take that almost every day of the week. Especially in this case. These are probably 2 of his best pieces. If he gives them up for my rook, works for me. Then I'll be left with the only dark square bishop, which is very nice. So I've never played the King's Indian, but I think it's interesting. He takes the pawn, but now we take with tempo. And if he moves his bishop and doesn't give up the pieces, we can just keep pushing, maybe. Kind of steamroll his position before he castles. It would be nice if we had maybe the knight already developed, right? Adding some juice, but even without it, 2 moves later, we'll have rook a d8. You know, once we develop, rook a d8, we'll just have a lot of lines, a lot of development, a lot of crisscross coordination. And he still can't castle because we have a threat. He'll probably, well, he's either going to take or, let's say, bishop to one of these squares. Okay, so he picks the hole in the corner. I was thinking, can we push? He'll move his knight, I don't know. Either attack the pawn or the center. The pawn is defended twice either way. And then what if we push again? If he wants to take it, he has to use this pawn, messing up his king cover. We could do that. We could just develop first, though. So here, now let's develop. Let's just develop. I mean, maybe the engine move by move says, oh, this is more accurate, but as a human, just bringing out a new piece fits the bill. Okay, so he castles because now we gave him time to castle. But we have another piece in on the action, which we like. We have a bishop undeveloped. This is the natural square-ish, as is e6, but that blocks the rook. And maybe we can provoke knight to the side and then reroute the bishop somewhere. I really just want to move the bishop so I can get my rook in on the d file. If I kick the knight now, there's a very low chance he goes here because it makes no sense without my bishop here. But if I put my bishop here first, then there's a high chance he's going to go here. So if I kick the knight first, now if he jumps in the center, maybe I can even pin him, although he gets a knight, I get a queen, he gets a queen. So maybe let's just develop and stop trying to be fancy. Just get our pieces in the game. I always want to push e4, but it's fine. It's also very restrictive where it is. And my pieces look kind of good. I'm not up anything, but I would rather be black. It's not automatically winning or anything, but it's just a nice position with, you know, freedom of development, which means white got nothing out of the opening. Usually, you try to leave your opponent with some development problems, like in the French, light square bishop, Caro-Kann, I don't know, maybe the queen's knight. In some e4, e5 openings, like that's why they go for the fried liver, because you don't have time to just develop normally. You give them problems. But here we have no development problems, no king problems, so you know you're always at least equal, if not better. Here, black's probably better. So now he hits the bishop, very predictable, but his knight's off sides if I move the bishop. So I thought that I could somehow get a gain of time here, putting the bishop to another square and his and on a decent square, and his knight's misplaced, so I gain a little time. I also thought that I had an intermezzo first, rook d8, hitting his queen, seeing where it goes, and then deciding what to do with my bishop. And the added advantage is now I have the possibility of going back to c8, which is a nice square with a long diagonal, some scope, but it doesn't block my rooks. My rook on a8 with bishop on c8 is not harmonious, but if I bring it back home, it defends, it attacks, it's very harmonious, it's out of the way. And his knight's misplaced. So that's the point of this whole maneuver and sequence. He moves his queen, which pressures the pawn, gets out of this alignment, gets out of this alignment, gets into this alignment. Our bishop is still hit, but now we even have a new square, which may just get it trapped, so be careful. But it's good to notice. I say we go back home. I really like this. I think it's a great square for the bishop, as opposed to some people may be like, oh, I have to go back home. But no, I really like it here. Okay, what else? Good knights, good rooks, good bishops, good queen. I don't know, maybe something will pop up tactic-wise. We have good pieces, good pawn in the center. Really strong position against the 1700. He's going to bring his rooks to the center, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. A bunch of trades, maybe. Yep, there we go. Rook to the center. If we look at all of our legal jumps, right? No, 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 no. So it's a bit odd for the knight. Maybe there's an argument for rerouting it. But for the time being, let's see what else. If we look at our legal moves, no, 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 no. If we look at our legal moves, well, there's an interesting one. But it undefends the center. This one, it's not as interesting. I kind of like this, assuming it was available. Rook trade. I mean, it's a whatever move. I'm going to reroute my knight. If I reroute my knight, it undefends some central squares. So if I move it, then he can jump his stuff in. which I don't actually like. I mean, I don't know exactly what it does. So here, I don't know, where's he going? Here probably. Doesn't actually threaten anything or do anything. Then I could jump mine in here. Let's try it. Let's give it to him. Uh, I remember hearing that someone once said, in order to get a square, you have to give a square, something like that. Maybe it was Bobby Fischer. You know, in order to claim this square, you got to give the square, right? So if I want to claim the d4 square, I'm giving him, let's say, these squares. Well, he has to pick one. And this just opens up my bishop, over defends the pawn. It's defended 4 times. So now I have the freedom to move whichever couple pieces. So he kind of drops his queen back like my bishop out of the way, but still having an effect on the game. But it depressures my pawn, depressurize. I don't know. Just making things up. Yeah, so now we can kind of just jump in here and move forward with our plan. And the difference is now it also comes with a threat. Not just the bishop, but the fork, right? His knight defends, but maybe we can... Can we sack our queen? We get a knight. He gets a queen. We get a second piece and a queen, and then he gets this first piece. So maybe we're up a piece there. His knight's also misplaced from before, which was the goal. He'll probably spend time moving it back at some point, unless he tries to blast through with the f-pawn, trying to justify its position. But in any case, oh, he ignores us and just blasts through with the f-pawn. Is he listening to me? But what about that piece line we just calculated? Also, if we take this first, then the rook opens up on the bishop, and that also just wins a piece easily. But I guess if we take the pawn and he moves the bishop somewhere, you lose the option of winning the piece. So my opponent offers a draw. Delusional. Delusional. He's losing on the spot. He thinks it's a draw. That's cute, though. I'm going to take the knight, like we calculated from before, as he stands stunned in bewilderment. Because the crazy move we just played was the exact time he offered a draw. So psychologically, he was just laying on a bed, coasting, ready to go on vacation because he thinks it's a draw. Then queen takes, knight comes, sacking the queen. And he just got up from the bed real quick. Vacation's over. Uh-oh. Kumar. Kumar. And I knew tactics would appear at some point because our pieces are so well placed. It's not like they're going to automatically appear. Your opponent has to mess up. But like this wasn't obvious, right? It's easy to make an oversight, a tactical oversight, when the opponent's pieces are so well placed. He thinks he's attacking, and then all of a sudden, boom. You know, it's just not in your mind. Queen takes knight, right? Defended by a pawn, defended by a queen. It's weird. So he moves his bishop and doesn't take our queen. Okay, but that still hangs the piece, but I guess this is a new line that I didn't look at. So I guess I'll just take the queen because I'm up a piece, right? So then I don't have to think, and I only have 2 minutes, so. Okay, he trades. This would be a fork if his bishop was gone. We can hit it with either pawn or the knight. There's also push past, which is hilarious, but he'll play f5. I kind of like f5 because then we can play maybe even e4. And also his whole construction here, these 3 pieces, is, I guess 4 pieces, is based on f5, right? Because he has so much support, blasting on through. f5 is such a good attacking move from white in so many openings and positions. But I'm going to go here. Maybe he sacks, but It's not good. And if, now that this comes with tempo, if he just retreats his bishop and we get an e4, not only is this with tempo, so he put his bishop on the wrong square, not only is his knight trapped because it has nowhere to go, not only is his bishop stuck, right? This pawn chain just cripples, paralyzes his army. His rooks are disconnected. He's down a piece. These guys are out of the game. Terrible, terrible. If we're up a piece, so you think it's +3, no, it's way more than that because the position is just devastating. So we have so many options here. You can convert however you want. The choice is yours. So I'm just going to keep developing, improving my pieces. I mean, maybe you could just push and win stuff and just win the game. But I'm going to show you just if you bring your pieces to good squares, that's enough. Even if you don't make the most accurate engine sequence, that's fine. Right? I move a knight towards the center, towards an outpost, open my bishop, open my rook. It should do enough. It should provide enough value that it's a good move. And it obviously doesn't collapse our position, right? Or allow anything crazy. And we know ahead of time, oh, b4, we expect it, but we're headed towards the d3 outpost anyway. So b4 doesn't do anything, but wastes time when white really needs to be getting his army in the game. This bishop, he needs to reroute to where the king is, and it will have value. The knight, he needed to go to g2 and put it on e3, so it provides value. But he resigns, which is correct. That was so weird. He spent so much time on the opening, like move 2 and move 3. And then he started playing normal. I don't know what that was. We don't have any inaccuracies, 95. So let's go through the game. So we want to get a Budapest, but they deny it, right? It's based off of the e5 pawn sacrifice. So we try to switch into some type of Indian defense. G6, making it look King's Indian-ish. Development and center, and king safety. King safety and development. And center, pawn presence, future development, and development. So if you look at the moves here by the engine, there's 3. I mean, I only have 3 that as the setting. 94, getting to this square before he prevents you from getting there. So you can always trade the knight off if you want, which is nice. Getting it out of the way of the bishop. So it frees up space quickly. I like it. B6, clear intentions for fianchetto and C5 ideas. And also C5. So we choose C5 to strike out of the center immediately, saying, hey, if you want some Benoni structure, it's now or never, buddy. He develops a knight. And now, central pawn for flank pawn. Just an equal game. Development, center. He goes here, and you can play E5 here. Wow. It doesn't even need to be prepared. It's already the best move. So E5, if he takes, and we take, oh, because of the pin, right? You could just pin it probably. Yeah, because if he takes with anything, you can pin, but even knight C6 works. So we're down a pawn, but his king is just too weak and it's worth and it's compensation. Huh. I guess we're just putting too much pressure against this king with the rook here, the bishop here. It's not going to be able to block the x-ray and defend, and plus the rook's coming in. So you can even sack a pawn if you felt like it, which is kind of cool. So I was looking at ways to play e5, seeing if it was possible. I should have realized about you can just pin him probably, so you don't have to do rook e8. It's just a move order thing. But okay, it doesn't ruin anything. Rook e8. He develops, and boom. E5. Best move. You know, it just goes with our plan. So even though it says we don't have any inaccuracies, just to show you, because we're playing King's Indian style stuff, the engine even says plus 0.8, right? It's always going to say that white is almost a pawn better, even when they don't have a pawn. don't read that into thinking you made a mistake. That's the nature of all hypermodern openings if you check them with an engine. But like I said, 0 inaccuracy, still plus zero point 0.8. It's just the way it is. So he takes forced move for free. And the second he goes back, black's now minus zero point 0.8, pawn better, right? So they're saying his only move to not be worse was knight b5, which I was not considering. What is that? I guess he opens up the queen alignment and threatens this. So if we trade queens, we're going to have to go knight a6. So here, 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 here. Hit the knight. Something like this, and it's even. Nobody's up anything. We both have good development. No queens are on the board. It's just a game. That makes sense. It's a weird move, though, and a lot of people aren't going to play it. And even if they do, it's just a game. But going back is clearly worse because now we just have a strong position, easy development. So if we push the pawn, it's playable, but you give his knight some squares for no reason. So our move is better. Development center. He castles. You see, and now that our knight's controlling this square, it suddenly likes e4 the best, which is funny. And just as good as bishop f5, same eval. But e4, now knight d4, now we can take, leading his queen into our line of fire, so that we have this knight g4 tactic. When he saves the queen, we pick up the dark square bishop. So that's why they like it specifically now. Because before, you just give him this square. Now, you push and you end up picking up that bishop. Big difference. But we don't do that. We just develop and center just as good. He attacks us. Boom. Development and center for free. Best move. Still -1 black. Even though we're not up a pawn, we have better development. He moves his queen. And let's say forced move. You could probably move it, I don't know, maybe somewhere else, but I mean, this seems reasonable. Bishop c2. Wow, you can get away with this? That's crazy. You could, I guess you couldn't go forward move by move. You can also just play knight d4 immediately if you don't care about the bishop. Like, it's not the best bishop ever. We care about our dark one, not the light. So you could let him take it, you know, something like this. He takes it, you take and hit his queen. Your knights look very pretty. You have a great position. But there's also no reason to let him take it. I feel like it gives him practical problems because he doesn't want his knight here. He's going to have to move back or get a 5 in. And we just have a good bishop. I don't know. Okay, he goes here. And now, again, it's saying you could just go knight d4. I keep over-preparing stuff, I guess. So knight d4, if he tries to take your pawn, he's self-pinning. So that's probably really dumb. You still have to calculate, though. But I don't feel like it. We over-prepare. We try to improve both of our pieces at the same time so that we can get a knight d4. But it does allow his knight some freedom. Knight e4 could be annoying. So you don't need to make this move. And probably better is just going knight d4 immediately and not giving him those squares on account of he can't actually take. Because this is bad alignment. Okay, so we over-prepare. He moves the queen. Instead of playing knight e4 or knight b5, his two best moves, trying to take advantage of this line of sight I just covered from my rook, right? It no longer covers that square. But he moves his queen, which is very natural, just to get it out of the alignment, out of the way of everything. But now we have knight d4, improving a piece for free. And he blunders. So it goes from black being better, but totally playable by white. I mean, he has to be careful, but with accuracy, he's fine. To -5, down a rook. Because of only move, I mean, we have moves that are -3, but the only move that's -5 is the queen sack. So we spot it, and it doesn't matter what he does. Okay, he goes for this. We trade queens, free stuff. Gaining space for free. Gaining space for free. And hopefully you can see how devastating this pawn chain is against his pieces, construction. He goes back, it's -6, improve a piece, and he resigns because it's just a devastating position. So very interesting. Some cool ideas. I guess a couple times during the game, knight b5 was a move. Interesting. Not the first move that comes to mind, too. But good to know for next time. Submit your rapid games in my Discord. Good luck and goodbye.